You know that feeling, right? You find something amazing online, it's coming from another country, you picture it arriving, and then bam, that email lands, import duties due. Suddenly that great deal feels uh, less great.
Yeah, that's a classic online shopping moment, isn't it? A real conversion killer sometimes.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what we're digging into today. We're looking at two pretty significant updates from Shopify.
That's right. We've been checking out their official changelog, the one from May 1st, 2025. And they've rolled out a couple of things aimed at making international selling, well, easier for the merchants and definitely clearer for the buyers.
Okay, so our mission today is to really unpack these, understand how they work, and figure what they actually mean if you're selling online across borders or even thinking about it.
Precisely. We want to get past the feature announcement and into the real world impact.
Right. So let's start with the first one. This new default for country of origin. Now, I know country of origin might sound a bit dry, maybe a little technical, but it's actually super important for international shipping, isn't it? It's kind of the key to figuring out potential costs.
Oh, absolutely. It's fundamental. The country of origin, basically, where a product was actually made or significantly changed, is a major factor for calculating duties and taxes.
It's not the only factor, though, right?
No, definitely not. You've got other things in the mix, like HS codes, those standardized product codes.
Right, the classification code.
Yeah. Then there's the value of the goods, obviously, the destination country, and crucially, any trade agreements between the origin and destination countries.
Okay, so lots of moving parts.
They all interact to determine the final charges.
So previously, if you were a seller, you had to go into like every single product listing and manually set where it came from.
That was the standard way, yes. If you wanted accurate duty calculations, you needed that origin specified on each product or variant.
Wow. I can just imagine if you have hundreds, maybe thousands of products, and most come from the same place. That sounds like a lot of repetitive work.
Exactly, a huge time sink. And that's precisely what this first update targets. Shopify now lets merchants set a default country of origin. It's in their main tax and duties settings.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
Well, basically, if a specific product doesn't have its own country of origin listed, the system just defaults to using the one you set globally. It uses that default for the duty and tax calculations right there at checkout.
Ah, clever. So let's say 90% of my products are made in Vietnam. I set Vietnam as my default.
Right.
And for those 90%, I don't have to touch the individual product settings for origin anymore.
Pretty much. This system just picks up your default for those items, saves a ton of clicking.
But what about the other 10%? Say I have a few items made in Italy.
Yeah.
Am I stuck with the Vietnam default for those?
No, you still have full control. You can absolutely go into the product page for those Italian items and specify Italy as the origin. Or you can even do it in bulk through the taxes and duties settings page, if you prefer.
Yeah.
The default is just, well, the default, it handles the majority case, but doesn't remove flexibility.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a efficiency for the common scenario.
Exactly. And Shopify actually points merchants towards the International Trade Agreement website if they want to dig deeper into how origin rules work. Useful resource.
Good tip. Yeah, I can really see this being a big time saver. Less manual entry means fewer chances for error, too, I suppose.
Definitely. Consistency is key in this stuff. Think about like a small apparel brand. Maybe they design locally but manufacture everything in Portugal.
Right.
They set Portugal as default. Done. Then, if they do a special round of scarves made in Scotland, they just update those specific scarves.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, streamlines the process without losing the accuracy needed for exceptions.
Okay.
I get that. Now, the second update sounds like it tackles that initial problem we mentioned head-on, the surprise costs for the buyer. This is the duties-inclusive pricing becoming generally available.
Exactly. This is a big one for the customer experience. It's now widely available for merchants using either Shopify Managed Markets or the platform's own duties calculator.
And duties-inclusive means what it sounds like. The price shown includes the estimated duties.
Yes. Sellers get the option to display prices to their international customers that already have the estimated duties and import taxes baked in.
Wow. Okay, so no nasty surprises at checkout. That feels huge, actually.
It really is. It addresses a major friction point in cross-border buying.
But how does a seller manage that? They can't just absorb all those varying duty costs, can they? Margins are tight.
Right. Good question. The way it works is that merchants can adjust their product pricing per region. So they might look at the average duty rate for, say, Canada, and increase their Canadian prices slightly to cover that average expected cost.
Ah, so they're essentially pre-calculating and averaging it into the display price for that specific market.
Exactly. It lets them maintain their profit margin while offering that all-in price to the customer.
And is it clear to the customer what's happening? You don't want them thinking you're just charging more for no reason.
Yeah, transparency is key here. Shopify makes sure there's a clear notification at the checkout. It explicitly tells the customer something like, duties and taxes are included in the final price, so they know upfront.
Okay, that's crucial. So the price they see is the price they pay, period.
That's the goal. Complete clarity before they hit buy.
I mean, you have to think this will boost conversion rates, right?
Mm.
How many carts get abandoned because of sticker shock from unexpected fees? I know I've done it.
It's one of the biggest reasons, definitely. Seeing those extra costs pop up right at the end feels bad. It erodes trust. By offering this inclusive pricing, sellers create a much more predictable, trustworthy path to purchase.
Which should lead to more completed sales.
And happier customers, frankly. They feel like they knew what they were getting into. It builds confidence for future purchases, too.
It really makes you pause and think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As a buyer, knowing that final cost up front, that removed a huge barrier. I'd feel much more confident clicking buy on something from overseas. And then as a seller, okay, there's a bit of strategy involved in setting those regional prices, figuring out the averages.
Sure, there's some homework to do.
But the potential payoff in terms of completed sales, customer satisfaction, it feels like it could be a real competitive edge. Being the international store, that's just easy and transparent to buy from.
Absolutely. In today's global market, anything that reduces friction and builds that trust is gold. This feature hits both.
So wrapping this up then, 2 key things from Shopify this May 2025. First, the default country of origin setting that's about seller efficiency, streamlining the back end.
Right, less manual work.
And second, the wider rollout of duties-inclusive pricing that's all about the customer, making international buying clearer, more predictable.
Spot on. Both are really driving towards simplifying what can be a pretty complex area, cross-border e-commerce.
Taking away some of the headaches and the unpleasant surprises.
That seems to be the core idea, making it easier to manage duties and taxes, helping merchants reach global customers more smoothly, and giving those customers a better experience.
It's been really useful breaking these down. It shows how these platforms have to keep adapting to the realities of selling globally.
For sure, the landscape is always changing.
And it definitely leaves you with a thought, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With tools like these making international selling more transparent, maybe even simpler, what new markets out there suddenly look a bit more reachable for entrepreneurs, maybe even for you listening?
Yeah, it opens up possibilities. Definitely something to mull over if you're in the e-commerce space or thinking about jumping in.